Good Monday morning, 7 o'clock, and it is a holiday week. Hopefully, you've had a great one kicked off for the holiday weekend, and hopefully, it's been a safe one. You know, being in news for 30 years, this is one of the busiest times, and all the stories that we've done heading into the 4th of July. Trying to take care of you, definitely trying to take care of your kids. We know the kids love to grab those sparklers, right? They want to do all the fireworks on their own, little snaps, etc. Those things might be okay. I don't know. I've talked to so many emergency room physicians that they just say, can you just leave it all to the professionals? Even the sparklers can be very dangerous. I'm telling you from a firsthand experience when I was a little girl in grade school that one of my favorite cousins, we were outside of their house in Florissant, and she held a Roman candle in front of her for it to fire off, right? Obviously project up into the sky, and it backfired, and she's burned to this day on her chest. So I always want to pass along the importance of, again, leaving it to the professionals. Go see an incredible show in your community, wherever you live, or support the ones that they have, maybe in the downtown area. But I love all the small municipalities, the communities that put on an incredible show, and it really is amazing. So if you absolutely positively are going to do it, and no matter what I say that you're going to say, nope, I'm still going to give these to my kids, please make sure there's adult supervision, because again, it's a very dangerous one. This is when police, firefighters, emergency room physicians are all incredibly busy trying to take care, again, of all of the mishaps. So I just wanted to start that way, a little public service announcement. As we kick things off, happy 3rd of July. By the way, tomorrow, 4th of July, of course, Independence Day, but it's also National Wear Your Bikini Day. Are you ready for that? If not, you might want to start thinking about getting that body in shape. You know, we always talk about the physical side, the mental side. I ran into a good friend who lost 75 pounds. I was so proud of her, I almost didn't even recognize her. And she's like, Monica, I've listened to your show. I have been tuning in for the last several months. And boy, you're right. It all has to do with the mental side. And I was like, I know, 25 years of being a personal trainer. Trust me, I know the importance of getting the mind right, getting the spirit and the heart right, your emotions, as well as your physicality. So if you're not ready for swimsuit season, it's not too late. You know, we just kicked off summer. It's amazing what you can do in just a few weeks' time, in a month's time, but don't get frustrated with yourself if it's not coming off as fast as you want. Remember, that 100 pounds, the 200 pounds, or even the 25 or even 10 pounds didn't come on overnight. So give it some time, but get ready to get in shape. So this show, if you're just tuning in, you're brand new to us, I'm going to look at some of our comments that come in. I love to see all the new names. And of course, all of you that have been with me from the very beginning. Can you believe that we started this 4 months ago? 4 months ago, we had a vision to change the world together, mentally, physically, spiritually. And I love to interact with you. So be sure to sign on, whether you're going to watch on Facebook or maybe you watch on YouTube. Either way, I'd love to get some comments from you. Now, besides, of course, talking about 4th of July, and I'd love to know where you're going to watch the fireworks, or maybe you're having a party at home. Let me know, chime in, let me know what you're doing for the big celebration tomorrow, or if you had some this weekend. That was the other thing. I walked in and thought, is anybody even getting any sleep? Because you're hearing them. I actually heard the fireworks start on Tuesday. I was like, all right, a little early. And then since it's actually on a Tuesday, I have a feeling that the fireworks are going to continue on through the rest of the week and maybe into next weekend. So just get used to it. What are you doing for your animals, by the way? I'd love for you to chime in and tell me what you use for your doggies. I found something at a trade show that has CBD in it, and little increments that I give to our dog Tessa. She's the one that usually runs into the closet. I'm sure a lot of you experience that. Adelaide could care less. Opus doesn't really seem to care either, but our big girl, Tessa, gets really frustrated and scared and hides in the closet until all the booms go away. But this seems to help her over the last couple of days. I gave her another one this morning. If you're interested in it, I can find out. I can take a picture of it a little bit later today and tell you what we're giving her, because it seems to have worked, which thrills me. So yes, holiday weekend. Today, I'm sure, will be a lot of crazy fireworks going off in our communities, and then on Tuesday, maybe continuing even past the 4th of July. But again, please have fun, but be safe as well. We were talking about national days. It's National Fried Chicken Day coming up on Thursday, so I'm sure that'll be eaten a lot for the holiday tomorrow as well. Again, you can chime in and let me know what you're doing for the holiday, what you've done over the weekend. Would love to see what big things you have planned as you head into the weekend as well. I want to thank our sponsors, of course, the Invita Health and Wellness Studios. Absolutely beautiful. It's so refreshing to know that people are aligning with our mission. So besides Invita Health and Wellness, of course, the incredible things that they've been doing, I want to let you know that tomorrow we have a special show planned for you. On the holiday, of course, we mentioned the safety aspect, and instead of doing that over and over again, I want to take care of your mental health. So PTSD, a very real thing when it comes to the 4th of July. So we think about our military. I want you to also think about those in, the police, maybe that have retired, and they hear the fireworks go off and they think it's shots. We had a captain from the fire that had been retired last week, and he mentioned that it's a busy time for sure for them. But yeah, PTSD is a very real thing for anyone that suffers with PTSD. 4th of July is not an easy day for them. So tomorrow we are going to be airing a show. I sat down with a gentleman by the name of Gilbert. He's a patient of Dr. Sarah Franco's at Invita Health and Wellness, and he will be my guest tomorrow. So any of you that suffer from depression or severe pain and trauma, I want you to listen into that show. It's about a 20-minute show that we sat down with Gilbert, and he talked about all of these surgeries that he's had. And he said if he had known about the staff at Invita Health and Wellness, if he had known about Dr. Sarah Franco, that he would have been able to probably avoid 11 or 12 surgeries. He truly, firmly believes that. You'll hear his full story tomorrow. So again, thank you to what Dr. Sarah Franco and the staff at Invita have been doing for the world. She is just an amazing person. So many things in the medical and the wellness field. Also, of course, thank you to Carroll House, this beautiful, gorgeous set that we have, this wonderful chair. They have their big sale, of course, for the 4th of July. This is when you really want to maybe look out and look for new furniture for your office or for your home. So thanks to Brooke and the staff at Carroll House. Again, huge 4th of July sales that they have going on right now. And then, of course, our friends at Aldon, Indoor Air Quality Specialists, they're actually coming over to the house because our upstairs unit now, you fix one and then the other one's got to follow. So the other one is not cooling as it should. So we reached out to Jeff, and he's so sweet. He was going to have somebody come over immediately, and I was like, no rush. We're not up there. The dogs might run up there, but we run up and down. They're going to come over and check for us, which is fantastic. And then Florida Direct Palm Trees, greatly want to thank those. And I picked up this brochure, Bringing Paradise to Your Patio, and they have residential, commercial, and resort, and they have 2 locations, of course, as I mentioned, Hillsborough as well as Osage Beach. Florida Direct Palm Trees. It is 7:08. Now, I've been looking at my Facebook page, and I had not seen us on, and I hear now that you didn't get a chance to hear me for the last 10 minutes. So we'll do a recap. I don't want to completely go in that for all the people on YouTube, but just know that we're here for you. It is the kickoff to the day before holiday, the 4th of July holiday. So again, please be safe. Adult supervision is necessary. Leave it to the professionals. That was the main thing I would mention in the very beginning. It's important for you to know that this is an extremely busy time for professional police, firefighters, as well as all of those on the inside the hospitals. It's just a busy time, and hopefully we can avoid some of the mishaps and just how dangerous it can be for the 4th of July. So that's kind of what I said at the beginning. I'm going to take a break, and when I come back, I mention my guest, Rene Howitt. Rene is with Cope 24 and the parenting and the education that needs to take place at home. Now, we're talking about trying to prevent child abuse. We're talking about trying to prevent neglect, addiction, all of that. Rene is my guest. She will be here with us. And then at the end of the show, we'll do our 100 Days to Freedom. Let's see. I might actually let you all choose which one you would like to hear from today. Is it depression? Is it fear and anxiety? Is it shame? We haven't done overeating in a while. Maybe we need to do, actually, I'm going to pick it. We're going to do overeating because I don't want you to overeat for the holiday. I want you to have fun, but don't be a glutton, because I know for a fact you're going to beat yourself up, and I don't want that happening for you. So we'll do that. 100 Days to Freedom from Overeating at the end. And I have my handy dandy 100 Days to Do for Well-Being, 100 Things to Do for Well-Being. We've got that, and we will tell you what today, and we'll do tomorrow's as well, since we won't be here live tomorrow. And I'm not sure when we came on for Facebook, so let me do one more recap, and hopefully you didn't hear this. Gilbert, a patient of Invita Health and Wellness, will be our special show tomorrow. tomorrow. And for anybody who has PTSD, which is a big thing around the holiday, again, military, police, etc., many people that suffer with PTSD, the 4th of July is a very difficult day for them. So Gilbert will be my guest, and he talks about, again, being able to live like he's never lived before. That's tomorrow's show, and you won't want to miss that. But today's is live, and Rene will be my guest right here when we return after the break. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online envitahealthandwellness.com.
Carroll House is now the contemporary furniture design center.
We now have the largest selection of the latest ultra-modern furniture.
Sleek European designs, unique metals, bold lacquers, plush fabrics, and retro styles.
Modern furnishings with exclusive collections only at Carroll House.
Plus free financing, free delivery and setup, and free in-home design.
Visit the St. Louis Center for Contemporary Design inside our 3.5-acre showrooms at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
Warm weather, sand beaches, and boats galore. It's not Florida, it's a Lake of the Ozarks. Florida Direct Palm Trees brings tropical flair to your patios, docks, and yards. From a few feet all the way to 25 feet, there are palm trees for every property. Florida Direct also provides palm tree potting soil, palm fertilizer, large decorative pots, and a wide selection of locally grown tropical flowers and plants to add the perfect accent to your tropical paradise. Florida Direct Palm Trees, bringing paradise to your patio for 14 plus years.
You know, of course, it's great to get outside and enjoy the warm weather, but when it's time to relax indoors, be sure your home stays cool with equipment and service from my friends at Aldon. 24-hour emergency service available. At Aldon, it's their commitment to continue providing above and beyond HVAC service for all of their customers. They truly care about the air you breathe. Call them today at 314-567-5585 or on the web, aldon.com. That's al-don.com. 314-567-5585. Welcome back. It is 7:13, and if you're just tuning in, it's the Real Monica Adams Show, brought to you by our friends at Envita Health and Wellness. And again, I hope you've had a phenomenal weekend so far. Maybe you have the day off. I would really love for you to let me know. I'm looking at my tablet here and there, seeing what your comments are, chiming in any questions that you have for me or for my guests. A lot of people just saying good morning. Enjoy your 4th of July. Yes, I hope if you have an opportunity to have it off, wonderful. Just be safe out there. Maybe head out to a community. Let me know if you're actually going to a community fireworks, and if so, where you're going. So we'll give shouts to different communities. Thank you for all of you that have been tuning in since the very beginning. And then, of course, all of our I've seen so many new names over the last week, which is amazing, the reach that we've had in the last 4 months. You know, in the beginning, we kicked it off at my house. We kicked it off at the Mobile Monaco after my personal training in Kirkwood. And then we kicked off, this is actually our 5th week here in the Envita Health and Wellness set. And I really wanted to get to this point so we could sit down and have some incredible guests, like this friend of mine, Rene Howitt from Cope 24. First of all, thank you for coming in on a holiday week.
Oh, it's fine. We were here anyway.
Oh, I appreciate it. I really do. Renee and I actually met just a year ago. I had an opportunity to host MC their gala that they have, which they have coming up, and we'll talk about how you can be a part of that. But I had not heard of Cope 24, which I think maybe a lot of you maybe have not. That's why I wanted to bring her in. First and foremost, Cope 24 has been in existence how long, Renee?
Since 2009.
2009, and it stands for?
Changing our parenting experience in 24 and 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, and it is absolutely needed. And when I came to your gala, it was just amazing to see all the people that are there to support and the amount of support that's needed. Where all the money goes, we'll let you know in just a second, but it's amazing to see these documentaries, and there's a lot of work that goes into the documentaries for the education system and what is needed. I mentioned when I was saying that Renee was coming up, a lot of the resources that need to be there. And I said, today we're going to talk about about parenting, it all starts at home, right, Renee?
Absolutely.
We need more education. We need more presence. I always talk about to my clients that they need to be more present for themselves and, of course, for their children. So let's go all the way back for you to start this. Where did the brainchild come from? I mean, it's you and your staff, but why? What was the mission in your mind?
Well, our kids were young, between 7 and 14, and 2 children showed up on our doorstep on Christmas Eve night. And actually, that happened twice with these same 2 kids. And we were shocked, and these parents were just in distress. They just made a lot of bad choices in their life. And these were very educated people. You know, we like to think in terms of child abuse and neglect and dysfunction being in a certain zip code.
Or stereotyping.
Right.
Yep.
But these were very educated people that had just made a lot of personal bad decisions, and they had lost their careers and their jobs, and they were out of money, and one of them was under house arrest, and so they showed up, and it ends up being taken up like 7 years of our life.
And so I remember hearing that story, and I thought, oh my gosh, these children just show up on your doorstep Christmas Eve, but why you? Why do you think that you were chosen for that?
Well,
what did they know that, or why did they think you were going to be able to take care of them?
Well, the father, first off, it was just one child the first time.
Okay.
The baby was due in 2 months.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, and the father of that baby was my husband's oldest brother.
Ah.
So he was successful, and so was the mother in Alabama. My husband was very successful here. And so I think they knew we had the resources to help them out. We didn't know anything really. I mean, you know about abuse and neglect and dysfunction, but until you actually see it, and we could tell right away that these people wanted good things for their children. We weren't even putting all of the pieces together yet. Now what I know is there's generational.
Yeah.
And this woman grew up in total dysfunction, and her parents grew up in total dysfunction. It's just generational.
That ripple effect. That
Yes.
that somehow someone has to believe enough to be able to make it stop.
Right. And so really, I think what his brother was trying to do was get established here in St. Louis again so he could get his career back on path. So one of them could earn money.
Okay.
And so they were coming to us as a place to stay temporarily while they found a place to live and get established. And my husband did get his brother a good job, and the baby is born, in February, but it just kind of went downhill from there because his wife had all of these mental health problems, and when you've got a toddler and a newborn, I mean, one night the pediatrician even called me and said, is there any way you can get over to their home? I think there's a chance she could pick this baby up and shake it.
Yes. Well, and we know we've talked about shaken baby syndrome. We've talked about so many things that have happened. I actually, Renee, just had someone that I do life coaching with that she's going through that with her sibling and the sibling's wife, and they're so scared about letting that child, or actually think they have children, alone with her. She was actually put into a hospital, but now she's back. And it's that I've talked before about abuse that happens and the belief that it'll stop, it won't continue, I have to stay with this person. And it's just, they're in so much fear, right? Or depending on whether it's the man or the woman, they look at their finances and don't think, I can't get out of this. I have to stay in this circumstance, in this situation. I'm sure you hear these over and over again.
It is so difficult. There's so many layers. We've talked about this before. The reasoning for most of our mental health, our homelessness, our domestic violence, our addictions, our crime, we know can be traced back. 70% of the people sitting in prison, sitting in mental health institutions, come from dysfunctional families. So that sounds easy. Let's just fix the parents. But how do you do that when the parents themselves have been traumatized since their childhood?
Right.
And
absolutely. Well, you know what? So one of the things that I always talk about and why I wanted to start this show, I mean, Renee knew me from television. I stepped away in January, and one of the things for 25 years that I've done is worked in the wellness industry. And no matter what, even if we're talking about no self-belief, right? That's where it starts a lot of times, that they look in the mirror and they beat themselves up and they don't like who they are, they hate who they are, and then they lash out at others around them. And it's just, it's a like I said before, it's a ripple effect. but it is the mental, spiritual, emotional connection that has to be there, the counseling that has to be there. Like I said, it's so many levels of who they are, but where they came from. But as you said, there can be in your minds, oh, it comes from North City. It comes from this particular colored skin, right? But you've seen it. You've had this organization for a long time. You've seen it hit all levels, all financial levels, all zip codes, all ethnicities, right?
Exactly. There's no demographic boundary on abuse and neglect. And I believe a lot of that is because when you're raised in just dysfunction, but constant dysfunction, there's an anger management issue, there's critical thinking issues, there's self-awareness, the feelings you have for yourself. And when you are raised in a home where you don't seem to be given any value is placed on you as a child, how then as an adult would you value others?
Right.
And the irony of that is that you're looking to be loved. And so I'll have my own babies and then I will be loved.
Right.
That is true. You will be loved. But you don't understand the amount of work that comes with this. And when you don't get to clock out, there's no holiday, there's no vacation day, there's no sick day.
Right.
You still have to be there. And when you don't have that skill set of anger management, I used to tell kids, because I used to be in classrooms for 6 years speaking, and I'd say, we like to believe because we hear the worst stories in the news.
Sure.
Okay?
Yes.
And we like to think that those are just monsters. But the real majority of abuse and neglect is just not planned.
Yeah.
There's no monster planning, oh, how can I torture my children today?
Right.
That is not how this goes.
No, they don't set out for that. But again, anyone that's ever had the announcement of you're pregnant, you hope that it's this embrace of, oh my gosh, this blessing and this miracle that's coming to my life. For some people, they're not ready for it. They don't have the finances for it. It happens to very young, right? They're babies having babies. And no matter what, though, the age, there's no pamphlet out there that says, this is how you're going to take care of this human being. So it's all trial and error. There's been a lot of books and things that are out there, but it's still, you can read as much as you want to read. It's still, you're in it.
Yes.
And as you said, Renee, which is so powerful, it's 24 hours a day, every single day. And you hope that you have help, but some people don't have help at all.
Exactly.
Right? That's the scary thing for them, especially when they're young.
I've had a lot of very healthy people, they're pregnant for the first time, they're expecting their baby, but there's this job opportunity. We could move across the country and we could, set up over here. And I say, not a good plan unless you have family and friends there.
Yeah.
You
No
are
support
going
system.
to need help. This is the hardest job there is because you don't get to clock out. And children for years don't understand you are a human being and have needs too.
Right.
They aren't capable of understanding that.
Yeah.
So all of those dynamics, and when you don't have coping skills, you don't have an education, like I can walk away from this.
Yeah.
When we ask kids in school, like if you step out of the room when your baby's crying and screaming, is that neglect? If you close the door, put on your earbuds, is that neglect? If you step outside, is that, and they'll all say yes, yes, yes. No, it's not.
Right.
You can't pick this baby up and shake it. I had never heard of shaken baby syndrome when that pediatrician called me. And she didn't even call it that. She just said, I'm afraid she's going to pick this baby up and shake it. Yeah. And it made so much sense to me because I was the mother of 3.
Yeah.
And I planned all of them, wanted all of them. We could afford all of them. And there were nights it was like, if this baby doesn't stop crying,
Yeah.
It is just like there's something about shaking.
Yes, everyone's like, oh my gosh, am I bad? And you brought up a really valid point because the mental health of the individual, who is the parent, does need, as you said, the assistance, needs to step away for a second because, again, they're not ready for it. There's so much going on and they're getting so anxious about it. They have to work on themselves first. In the moments when the baby's sleeping, in those times you have to work on meditation, you have to take the naps, whatever you can do, because if you're not well, then you know that it's going to come out in some way. Lashing out at the child, who is the innocent one, and the shaking of stop crying. If they could only take that back, but we know how many babies' lives have been lost because of shaken baby syndrome. And if you talk to that parent and other people that lash out and say shame on that parent, don't shame. Watch, what do we always say? You're pointing, you're shaking one finger, and all the other fingers are coming back at you. You just to say that maybe didn't do it, maybe you got lucky. You're not in the news, like you said. The horrible stories we hear in the news, or that we reported in the news.
Right, and now with medicine, where it's at, is if the babies get to a doctor, get to an emergency room quick enough, they'll save the babies, but their quality of life.
Yes.
And it's so if you thought it was hard with a healthy baby, now you have this baby that may be unhealthy the rest of its life.
Right.
How hard do you think that might be?
Yeah.
And that's simple education.
Right.
But we got to get it out to all of our future potential parents.
Yes. Well, and that's why I'm bringing Rene on today. 7:25, and what we're talking about today is Cope 24. And if you have never heard of the organization, that's why I wanted to bring Rene on to tell you that this incredible organization is there. We're going to talk about the gala that's coming up, how you can get there, the money that's raised, what that goes to. We're going to go deeper, though. I'm going to take a quick break. As we get deeper into this, we're going to talk about what happens at home, the addiction, the child abuse. We've already talked about some of the things that are there, shaken baby syndrome, etc. But it's also what resources are available for these young parents trying to stop the abuse. Maybe they were abused and you swear I would never do that, but then you see that if you sit 5 in a room that were abused, there's at least one. From what the old studies, yes, but now Rene just said more. So we're going to talk about some of the people that they've sat down and had a chance to interview in these documentaries, and some aha moments, and maybe some really impactful ones that Rene can pass along. If you have any questions or any ahas yourself, maybe you have, or you are a parent who said, yes, I need some assistance, I need help, I've watched the abuse, or you've seen it within family and friends. I want you to know about this organization. We'll give you the website and everything that you need to know more about Cope 24. Stay with us. More with Rene Howitt when we return. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment, or online envitahealthandwellness.com.
Carroll House is now the contemporary furniture design center.
We now have the largest selection of the latest ultra-modern furniture.
Sleek European designs, unique metals, bold lacquers, plush fabrics, and retro styles.
Modern furnishings with exclusive collections only at Carroll House.
Plus free financing, free delivery and setup, and free in-home design.
Visit the St. Louis Center for Contemporary Design inside our 3.5-acre showrooms at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
Warm weather, sand beaches, and boats galore. It's the Florida. It's a Lake of the Ozarks. Florida Direct Palm Trees brings tropical flair to your patios, docks, and yards. From a few feet all the way to 25 feet, there are palm trees for every property. Florida Direct also provides palm tree potting soil, palm fertilizer, large decorative pots, and a wide selection of locally grown tropical flowers and plants to add the perfect accent to your tropical paradise. Florida Direct Palm Trees, bringing paradise to your patio for 14 plus years.
You know, of course, it's great to get outside and enjoy the warm weather, but when it's time to relax indoors, be sure your home stays cool with equipment and service from my friends at Aldon. 24-hour emergency service available. At Aldon, it's their commitment to continue providing above and beyond HVAC service for all of their customers. They truly care about the air you breathe. Call them today at 314-567-5585 or on the web, aldon.com. That's al-don.com, 314-567-5585. And welcome back. It is 7:30. It is the day before the 4th of July. So first of all, I appreciate you waking up with us. If you're having to head off to work, maybe you can put your earbuds in, or make sure that you have your phone synced into the car. I don't want you to be looking at it. Just listen and receive the message. Rene is my guest, Rene Howitt from Cope 24, and Kathy Holden Reed and Danielle Corley both said, what an important topic. Thank you for covering this topic. Absolutely. If you have someone right now that you want to reach out to, send them a text, give them a call, let them know that we are doing this topic. And if they can watch it now, great. If they can listen to it now, wonderful. If not, share this. That's what you're seeing. Please like and share and comment and pass this along to those that are either watching on Facebook, or Rene, we're also on YouTube. And then I will end up having this show on our audio podcast platforms, which Spotify, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio. It's a very impactful, very powerful topic. We're talking about parenting, and you'll see the title on this say it's all starting at home. And I know sometimes people will go, gosh, Monica, you really laid into us. And I said, well, you need to. Parenting and the education system, because when the parents then send them off to school, then what's happening in school? How much power does the education system have over our children? What's happening to them? The bullying that happens when they're away, right? Then the addiction that gets that happens because they don't have an outlet when they get home, because there's no, I always say there's no family dinners anymore, so nobody knows what the heck's going on with their kids. Don't you agree with that?
Oh, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, and so the parents don't know what's happening to their children.
I have, until this year finally broke through, trying to get the entire system. You know, we had to fight for these kids in court, and most of the time we didn't really understand why. We just did what we were told to do as far as fostering these kids. And so I was on a mission to understand the system. You can't change something you don't understand why it is the way it is.
Sure.
And so as it started making sense to me, it occurred to me that our school systems, the teachers, the faculty, they're forced into being social workers. They wanted to be educators.
Right.
And our people that work for children's division often, you know, they're doing like training and teaching, and they're supposed to be social workers. You know, like we've got it backwards.
Absolutely.
And so if we had kids coming to school from healthier homes, then our teachers could be teaching. And how much more could we learn if we weren't spending so much time disciplining and dealing with these behavioral issues? That's all what was emerging in my mind.
Yes, absolutely.
And when you think about it, we like to blame it on the schools, but the schools don't get our kids for 6 years.
Exactly.
You know, there's a lot of damage that,
Before
and
they ever
actually
come.
most damage occurs because those impressions that are being laid in the child's brain in those early years, it's hard to break those.
Well, and let me just tell you, from just life coaching over the last 4 years, Rene, many times it doesn't get broken at all until they go into counseling, they come into life coaching, whatever aspect, or they do it hopefully hand in hand, multiple levels. And I can tell you that everything that I have been digging into with the people that I've been coaching is all from those years, those very impressionable years where the abuse happened, or what they watched within the parents. And again, as I mentioned going into the break, you would think if it was done to you that you would never do that again, right?
Right.
Look
But
at the
that's
look
what
on
you
your
know.
face. Yes, that's all you knew.
say. We always say, I'm never going to do that. Especially, we all heard our parents say, because I said so. That's not a reason. Well, that's the only reason the child's going to understand.
Right.
And so we all end up saying, because I said so, even though we said we would never do that, you know? So I just can't say enough that this isn't about pointing fingers at parents. And all parents need to understand. It doesn't matter how dysfunctional you are, how whatever your issues are. All parents want better for their kids. They want them to have better jobs, better education, live in nicer homes, drive nicer cars. They all want that.
Right.
But a lot of parents aren't capable of helping their children achieve that. You know, but they still want that. And I'm saying, why isn't on that list, I want my kids to be better at parenting?
Yes.
I wasn't a perfect parent. I'm a human being.
Thank
we
you.
all make mistakes.
Yes, there is no
so
perfection.
I believe that my daughters aren't making the same mistakes I made. They're figuring out how to make their own because they're human beings.
Right.
That's just life. But recognizing I was an athlete, you know, and all those drills you do to prepare for the match. Why do you do those drills? Because those are the things that happen most often in the competition. Getting your athlete to understand and recognize in the middle of a game, that's what we've been practicing, recognizing it. And so that's what education's about, is getting our kids to understand, not to go home and tell your parents you're doing it wrong.
Right.
That you're not going to win that battle.
Yes.
That's not what we're trying to do with education.
Cope24. First of all, and we'll do it again at the end, you want to give the website so people can get more information after the show's wrapping up.
Yes, cope24.com.
Okay.
And we're on Facebook, Cope24.
Now, I mentioned earlier that if someone throughout the year or right now they want to help and they want to donate to this wonderful organization, the money, where's it going?
Well, what we do is produce reality-based documentary-style videos that are being used in classrooms, our high school classrooms across the country. As you know, producing a documentary is extremely expensive.
Yes.
And we may make the money back that goes into reproduction of the video, but we'll never sell enough of those to get all of the money back. So the donations go into so that we can create these for these teachers. And because of technology, it's even easier now because so many schools just want to stream.
Right.
And so that is bringing costs down as well.
Good.
We don't have to warehouse all of this stuff. But we started out with the Cope24 Parenting Skill Program. And all I did was tap into my mom experience. What were the most frustrating moments for me? Like the crying baby, the tantrum, the bedtime was my personal parenting favorite, potty training. And by the way, something like 35% of all of child abuse happens to children under the age of 4.
Under the age of 4.
And what are we doing? They're crying.
Yep.
They're throwing tantrums. They have to be potty trained, and they never want to go to bed. And you're just exhausted. That's why. It's that coping. But then later on, it's homework. No parent wants to sit down and do homework, but you have to do that. They're going to lie to you.
Yep.
They're going to get to an age where they're just going to dress strange, and you can't tell them you look like a fool. You can't
Why are
say
you wearing
that.
your Halloween costume?
Yeah.
It's spring.
That's right. And so we did like these 5-minute videos of each of these 10 parenting situations, and the idea was for a teacher to start a class, play a video, and then turn to the class and say, now, what went wrong? What other choice could the parents make? And what will you do? Because we're not trying to tell them how to parent as much as these things we know you should never do.
Well, and again, we're talking about parenting at so many levels, so many different ages, and so many times. I mean, I'm thinking back when I was in high school. I think there was one girl that I remember that got pregnant, and we were all like, "What? You're a teenager." And now we're seeing that more and more and more, unfortunately, and not just one child, but then another child. And again, they're not set up for it. They are not expecting it, but it happens, and you better get ready for it. You hopefully, as you had mentioned before the break, that they would have some type of resources around them, of help around them, whether it's family or maybe it's extended family or it's friends. Somebody has to, because they're not ready for that. They're young, impressionable, childlike minds are not ready for
And
that.
you get that firsthand experience when you're teachers, because they're in the classroom every day. But when I was in the classroom almost every day for 6 years, I remember one young girl. She was 14, and she had a baby. And what she was describing to me was her little girl bedroom, her twin bed, her pink room. Only this baby in it is not a doll.
Right.
It is her baby.
Yes.
And she's just 14.
Yeah.
And so, she had a support system, but their mom and dad aren't going to do that 100% of the time.
Nope.
And so you've just taken away. I used to tell kids, you think your parents don't want you to have any fun. That's why they don't want you to have sex, smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, or do it. They just don't want you to have fun. I'm telling you, I can think of nothing less fun than being a teen parent.
Yes, absolutely. And that was the thing, is right away when we heard that she had that baby, I was like, oh, I think the comment right away from everybody was, oh, her life is over, right? It's the very first thing. And I don't know what ended up happening, if she put the baby up for adoption or what happened. But now, as I said, we hear that more and more and more. So we're talking about the documentary. I actually watched on your website, cope24.com, I watched the little snippet that you have of this year's documentary, and the woman that you want to explain a little bit more about this, the woman that sat down and talked about the abuse that happened to her, and it just breaks your heart.
So that brainchild of doing documentaries came after we did the parenting skill program. Like, what's the follow-up? If you use this as a freshman, what's the follow-up to remind them? And so we decided to start doing these documentaries in a series called Elements, which are elements of dysfunction. So we did one on shaken baby, then we did one on teen parenting and do you have a support system? And then we did one on drugs and alcohol and parenting. We did one on ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and now we are in the editing portion of domestic violence and the impact that has on the children.
Yeah.
We know the impact that it has on the victim.
Sure.
But we never hear anybody talk about, but what about the children that are witnessing?
That are watching this happen, yes.
Because as women, because men do get abused, but not primarily it's women.
Yes.
And the belief is it's going to get better.
That's what I was saying earlier on.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in once again, my guest is Rene Howitt, and we're talking about Cope 24, and I mentioned before about the abuse and children watching it, and then it happens repeatedly, and then that child once, there's just horrible things that have happened. My husband, as you know, is a lieutenant with the county police. I've heard the stories of what they go into, and many of them are domestic abuse calls. So we think about, where did that start from? And then you have the neighbors that find out about the domestic abuse call. The police are coming, and they're, shame on them. And it's this constant shame, right, that they'll say. But you don't know what happened. You hope it's a one-time thing. But I mentioned before that everyone believes it's going to get better, and they stay in the abuse until someone gets killed, or they're maimed, or their whole life changes, or, as you mentioned, the kids are watching it, and now they need counseling for the rest of their lives because they watch what happened to their mother.
Yeah, and they don't have good role models. So what's being modeled to them is a father that's got anger issues, and a mother who is taking this.
Yeah.
And yet, what do they look for then as an adult? They don't know healthy.
Right.
And I want to say something. We think in terms of abuse and neglect as being the legal definition of abuse and neglect. But when you live in dysfunction, and by the way, most of our families are just dysfunctional.
Sure.
Like if Children's Division was in your home.
Yep.
There's no law against yelling and screaming at each other and calling each other names, belittling each other in front of our children. There's no law against yelling and screaming at your children, calling them names and belittling them.
But that's verbal abuse.
And when that's happening on a regular basis, that changes how your brain views yourself and others and the entire world. It just changes how you view everything.
Yeah.
Now you're the adult, and you don't have anger management issues, and you want to control. So, again, not finger pointing, because these people that are adults that are making really bad choices, they came from this dysfunction too, most likely.
Yeah. So again, the documentary is, the new one is about abuse, and you'll see this in the fall at the gala. What's the date of the gala?
It is November the 10th.
And you're holding it this time at the Moto Museum.
Yes. So we're going to change it up a little bit.
This is your 10th anniversary.
This is our 10th anniversary, so we wanted to do something a little bit different. We've had wonderful galas, no matter where we've had it at. Everybody's done a great job. But we wanted to do something a little bit different, and so we're doing it on a Friday night, so it can be business casual for people coming straight from work. But since it's at the Moto Museum, we're thinking of making, do people want to dress in their motorcycle clothes and just kind of make it fun.
Okay.
You know?
So it's not the regular gowns and tuxedo gala.
Right.
Or maybe they can do something fun with it and put a little leather on with their tuxedo.
That's right. We're playing with that right now. But
Okay.
it's set. It's at the Moto Museum from 6 to 10. We're going to have live music the whole time this year. Just totally doing it different this year.
So I'm supposed to be Pinky Tuscadero and wear
Yeah,
leather?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to talk to you about that.
Oh, great. I'm just finding this out. No, I'm just kidding. So November 10th, we'd love for you to be there. Tickets are still on sale for that?
We haven't started the sale yet.
You haven't yet. Okay,
we just did the save the dates a couple months ago. We just had our board meeting about it 2 days ago. Okay. And so we'll be putting together the invites and posting that on our website and getting that out to those that have been to us before. But all are welcome.
I would love to see you there because it's really, I've done a lot of galas over the years and I truly enjoy this. This woman has so much passion. You'll see it. You'll get an opportunity to see the documentary. The full documentary, what's the length of it?
We aim for 50 to 60 minutes.
50 to 60 minutes.
So it's not completely done yet. They're actually, we had so many stories, so many testimonials, and we can't reenact all of them, but that's what's happening now in production.
Sure.
They're going to reenact some of those stories that the women are telling and men. We had a man that really, domestic abuse is physical abuse. It's can be child abuse. It's abuse. We just think in terms of it as male and female, but it's abuse. And when children are witnessing it, we've got a male victim that as a child witnessed his mother, who was very abusive anyway, kill her own brother. He watched her push him over a railing, and he fell down 2 stories or whatever, and they attributed it to drunkenness, that he was just drunk and fell. But he saw it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until decades later that he told his siblings after mom died that she actually did that. Like, he lived with that trauma.
Yes. And again, that's when you know that what had happened, what they saw, what they experienced, unless they get counseling, unless they have some type of organizations like this that's out there to help them, that impact will last the rest of their life. And they will always go back, and maybe sometimes suppress it and try to figure out, well, how did I go so wrong? And then that becomes revealed. And then it's the aha moment of that's where it all started. Well, I also want to say this. So we're talking about domestic violence. We're talking about, in the documentary, domestic abuse. But we're talking about abuse on so many levels. It starts with verbal, and they swear they'll never lay their hands on someone. And then you get pushed so far, or alcohol is involved. Then it becomes physical abuse. But the other aspect is the readiness of guns.
Yes.
And I know you and I have been talking a lot about this. So it's just too easy these days of how the gun gets in someone's hand. And when you put alcohol, you put anger together, if they could take it back, I'm sure they would, but it's in the immediacy of the moment, and they pick up that gun, and then we know what happens.
Yeah, so we're in the research. We're thinking about doing this documentary on 2 levels, like safety of guns in the home,
Right.
but also the violence.
Right.
And where does that come from? Where does that thought enter a person's mind, not just to pick up a gun and kill myself, but I'm going to take out a whole bunch of other people?
Right.
That's not having any value for human life. Well, I don't have value for human life because I don't even value my own. Where does that come from? And unfortunately, we never talk about that part of it when we start talking about guns.
Right.
And so we're looking at that. And you and I have discussed having a panel discussion on 2 different levels. One about gun safety in the homes, because some people live in really bad neighborhoods. That doesn't mean they're bad people.
Right.
They just can't afford to get out.
Sure.
So they have to protect themselves. That's a different issue from gun violence and intentional. And so we're exploring all of that because it is affecting our families.
Yep.
So I've been having these conversations across the country with people that might want to get involved in this project with us. So anybody out there that's listening to this that has thoughts, because we're learning about it. And one of the things that I learned just last week was that, yeah, we can look at these violent situations because they're just horrible at a school, at a mall, at a public place. But really, the biggest pieces of gun violence are suicide. So that's self-inflicted, or domestic violence.
Yes. Yeah, and it's we've had so many stories, and it got to a point, obviously, Rene, which is why that I stepped away, that I didn't want, we were just talking about it at the break, I didn't want people to be waking up and that's all they're hearing about. I mean, again, you try to wake up with positivity, you try to have the intentions that I keep telling everybody, start your days with, and then this is all you hear. And so your spirit is dampened. It's just the way you're starting your day, and you just think what's going to happen in the course of that day. Then again, the readiness of the guns, the alcohol addictions, the drug addictions, the multiple level of addictions that is out there, the abuse that's maybe happened to them, all these things compounded, and that's what we're talking about. But this is why Rene Howitt's organization is there. Before we have to wrap up, you want to talk about the House bill that's passed, but it's just waiting on the governor's signature.
Yes, we've been working for 2 years. Well, actually, I've been working on it for 10 years, but I got really serious about it the last 2 years, and we have been successful in getting this passed this year. We have, for at least a decade, maybe 2 decades, required that all students take a health class, half credit for graduation. And what we were successful in getting the legislator to understand is that we need to change health to health and family education, because there's a lot of overlap anyway, and most of our schools offer parenting and child development, but those were not mandated classes. So like 10% of the students took those classes, but more than 80% become parents.
Right.
And so it's like, why don't we merge that so that students can see, when we're talking about your health right now, your choices, whether it's sexual or drugs or your mental health, whatever, what about 10 years down the road when the choices that you make for your life don't just impact you,
Right.
but impact your children and your spouse, and getting them to start tying all these pieces together, because kids just want to have fun.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're focused. COPE 24 focuses on students. Like, get out in front of this and see if we can't. We're not going to get rid of child abuse, but if we can reduce it, if we could just reduce it through education by, say, 25% in the next 10 years, what would that do to the overall system? Like, you've reduced 25% of the cases.
Right.
How much more effective could child welfare be?
Absolutely. And so many times people say, oh, can one person really make a difference? Can one organization? We believe so.
Yeah, or
But
we wouldn't do this.
Exactly. So a lot of it is just belief. First of all, it's belief in oneself. It is taking care of yourself. Many times, and you see it right here, know your value. That has been my mantra for a long, long time. I stepped away from television to teach that more and more, but it is, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Self-care first and foremost. If your mental side, your spirit is not right, and then you look at your home. I think it was a really powerful thing, Renee, that someone mentioned. We talked about going through the pandemic and the times that kids were at home. And all I kept thinking was that they were being kept away from going to school to have the socialization first and foremost, to have the education that they now are so far behind because of trying to learn on these things that didn't do well. But someone brought up a really valid point, which was, but think about all the people that are in those homes, and that was their safe zone. That was their escape. And I thought, wow, yeah, I didn't even think about that. We were just all thinking about the way they were having to be taught, instead of thinking they needed to get away from that, because all they did was live in the abuse every day.
That was their escape, and it made it much more stressful for parents that were already in distress. And so, yes. And our schools do things that some people don't even think about. I mean, they provide breakfast and lunch for any kids that need it. I mean, that's 2 meals a day.
Right.
For some kids, that's what they get.
Right.
And they weren't getting that, some of the biggest reporters, probably the largest group of people that report child abuse and neglect, are people that are in our schools. They're mandated reporters, and they're with our kids 5 days a week, 9 months out of the year. And so they're the ones reporting. Well, they weren't seeing the kids.
Right.
And so the reporting went way down. We knew child abuse didn't go way down.
Absolutely
It was
not.
going up, but nothing was getting reported.
What have you seen, before we have to wrap up, what have you seen in these statistics since 2020, when we all know what happened in 2020, and the years after? Here we are 3 years later. Have we seen these statistics worsen?
They definitely worsened. The reporting worsened. Like every other employer, they lost employees. So then when things opened back up, Children's Division was way understaffed, which added to it. Our governor this year has given a lot of money to Children's Division so that they can offer better starting pays, just like for our teachers. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Be competitive and retaining. All of the years that I worked on some task force in Jefferson City, 45% turnover rate. No business or school could operate when you have a 45% turnover rate every year.
Right.
That's what Children's Division experienced, because it's such a difficult job. It takes years to really be good at it, because there are so many rules and so many policies, and you're at risk. And you don't just clock out and walk away from what you just saw. So there's an emotional element, and then you go home to your kids.
Right.
So yeah, it got worse, but at least we're getting some funding to build staffing back up and retain these people. I think it can be good. Now we've passed this legislation. If the governor signs it, then I mean, that's working hand in hand with Children's Division, so that we can reduce on the front end by kids just knowing more.
Absolutely.
Like, you bring home this baby and you're not happy with your life or with any of this. Why do we keep having babies? There's nobody telling us we have to do that.
Right.
And I mean, we still want to be concerned about that baby, but I read cases for years where there were like 5, 6, 7 kids. What didn't you get about this? You don't like being a parent.
Exactly. Yes, and that's where the education system comes into play. But again, and it goes all the way back to the title of this show, which is It All Starts at Home. I remember being in high school and having our child development classes, and, oh, let's carry the egg around. Oh, you broke the egg. And then people would laugh about it. Oh, well. And then it would be, the baby doll.
Yes.
Nope, this is real. Everything about this is real, and you got to be ready for it. And like Renee said, it's one. Then it's another child. Okay, stop.
Yes.
Right?
We
You're
can
not
control this.
Exactly. We can control this. All right, let's give you the information again so you can find out more about this incredible organization. And like I said, I know a lot of you have the holiday off. So if you have family and friends that weren't up, or maybe they are, getting things ready for their big holiday tomorrow, do me a favor, take this show, share it with them so they can hear this, because normally when we go into a holiday week, We don't see the amount of numbers in television or podcasts, et cetera, that you normally do on a regular basis when it goes into a holiday. But I want you to be able to have this show as a resource and go back and pass this along and let them know they need to listen to this, even if they take it in increments. So cope24.com, and the gala again is November 10th.
Yes.
And you'll have tickets that will be on the website that they'll be able to. I would love for you to be there and see the incredible work that this woman and her staff are
how about
doing.
if we challenge the bikers against child abuse?
Oh my gosh! I just found. Okay, there's is that the organization that's been around
BACA,
for
BACA. At least that's what it used to be. I didn't look it up. I should have looked it up before I came in.
There's I love that organization, just Bikers Against child abuse. There's Bikers Against Drunk Driving. They've been around for 40 years. I had never heard of them, and they've got all these raffle tickets they have for these incredible cars. Have you seen this organization?
No, I haven't seen that.
They just gave away 1956 Corvette.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you go guys. We need the bikers there.
That's right.
I want to see them
That would be
there.
awesome.
Yes.
They show up. The Bikers Against Child Abuse show up in court.
They're amazing.
Which are the worst cases, and they're there for that child to know. You get up there and say, this person that's abused you, we're here, we're going to protect you. It's just that's what they do.
Yeah. Let's get
awesome.
the biker community is amazing. I tell you what, they really do show up. You want to talk about being present, they really show up. So yes, pass the word around. Again, it is November 10th. I'd love to see you there. I'll be there in my leather.
There you go. I will too.
Okay, good.
You do it, I'll do it.
I will.
Okay.
Deal?
Because I'm not a costume kind of person, but my husband is a Harley man.
Yeah, so is mine.
And we've got the clothes.
Okay,
So.
all right. We just said it. We're going to shake again. You couldn't see that. All right, there's a handshake right there. We're gonna wear our leather. We want you to as well. So cope24.com. Renee, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. Wonderful work that they're doing, and we want them to continue to do. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to wrap things up as we head into the holiday week. And again, I will let you know again the show we have planned for you tomorrow, and we'll do our 100 Days to Freedom. We might do a couple for you, but for sure, we'll do the one on overeating. So don't go anywhere. That's coming up after the break. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online, envitahealthandwellness.com.
Carroll House is now the contemporary furniture design center.
We now have the largest selection of the latest ultra-modern furniture.
Sleek European designs, unique metals, bold lacquers, plush fabrics, and retro styles.
Modern furnishings with exclusive collections only at Carroll House.
Plus free financing, free delivery and setup, and free in-home design.
Visit the St. Louis Center for Contemporary Design inside our 3.5-acre showrooms at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
Warm weather, sand beaches, and boats galore. It's the Florida. It's a Lake of the Ozarks. Florida Direct Palm Trees brings tropical flair to your patios, docks, and yards. From a few feet all the way to 25 feet, there are palm trees for every property. Florida Direct also provides palm tree potting soil, palm fertilizer, large decorative pots, and a wide selection of locally grown tropical flowers and plants to add the perfect accent to your tropical paradise. Florida Direct Palm Trees, bringing paradise to your patio for 14 plus years.
You know, of course, it's great to get outside and enjoy the warm weather, but when it's time to relax indoors, be sure your home stays cool with equipment and service from my friends at Aldon. 24-hour emergency service available. At Aldon, it's their commitment to continue providing above and beyond HVAC service for all of their customers. They truly care about the air you breathe. Call them today at 314-567-5585 or on the web, aldon.com. That's al-don.com, 314-567-5585. Welcome back, and as we do our wrap up, I just want to say once again thank you so much. I know it's a holiday week and hard to get up and get moving around. You're so busy running off to the store to get ready for the big holiday, but this is a very impactful show. Rene Howitt, an incredible speaker, and just love the organization. I wanted to get the word out, so please pass this along. I know a lot of people were saying, great topic, thank you. I hope more people hear this message. Thank you, Cope24, for what you do. That was from Kathy. Great discussion today. Know your value. Great discussion. Bless you for having this wonderful organization. organization. Yes, pass it along. Okay, as promised, the 100 days to freedom, and I'm going to do for sure overeating because we haven't had a chance to do this one in a while. And I don't want you to be gluttonous tomorrow and to get mad at yourself for whatever happens on the holiday. Have fun, but be smart. So freedom to choose. Talking about freedom tomorrow. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. That's 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5. So does life ever feel out of control? Really impactful today for what we're talking about. Yes, but what happens when you feel like you lose control? Do the demands of life and the needs of those around you seem overwhelming? Sometimes we feel like we deserve a break or even a reward. Well, unfortunately, food can become your go-to reward. Does this sound like you? If you fall into that pattern of thinking, my life's so hard, so I deserve a treat, we will continue down a path of eating to make ourselves feel good emotionally. It interferes with the true goal of keeping a healthy weight. You must change that thinking. Neuroscience research supports the biblical concept that we are transformed by capturing our thoughts to renew our minds. We have control over our thoughts. We can take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. You can choose. As you begin to exercise control over your thoughts, you will begin to become transformed into the likeness of Christ. You can replace the old thought of, I deserve a treat, with, I'm proud of my hard work. Write this down. I'm proud of my hard work. It's time for a walk in the sunshine. Get in your vitamin D. This new thought, constantly nourished, can become the change. It can lead to a healthier outcome for you. It's not what's occurring in your life that affects the behavior. It's what you believe about what is occurring that matters. And regardless of what has happened to you or what is happening to you, we can change the brain through our choices. Change takes time, but it is possible. Believe in that. And when you're reading the Word of God, you need to let it soak in. Let God speak to your heart and let the Holy Spirit work. If you'd like further reflection, you can go to Psalm 119, verse 15 through 16. And let's wrap up with this. Today's prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for your promises of freedom from my old patterns. I love you, Lord. Make me new. I choose to believe what you have is good for me and better than any reward I could ever imagine. Amen to that. So we are on day 8 of almost all of our 100 Days to Freedom, and 100 Days to Freedom for Shame will be the last one before we move into day 8 on the rest of them. I do want to give you this, 100 things to do for well-being. We went through several of them. We left off with practice meditation. I hope you had a chance to do that. Today, let yourself feel your emotions. Boy, that's a good one. It really fits into today's show. Let yourself feel your emotions, know your value, work on self-care. And since we won't be live with you tomorrow, I want you to write a priority list. Write a priority list, that's tomorrow, of the 100 things to do for your well-being. Each and every one of you, I want you to have a safe 4th of July. I want you to have a great time with your family and friends. Be smart. Please have adult supervision over those kids who want to use the sparklers, etc. I understand. We've all been kids. We've all been there. But I want you to be safe. Tomorrow's show, Gilbert, a patient of Dr. Sarah Franco's of Invita Health and Wellness, and the amount of pain and trauma and PTSD and depression, mental health that he has suffered with, the over 12 surgeries he's had. And guess what he says? He thinks he could have erased 11 of them had he known about ketamine and what it could do to help his pain, his PTSD, and his depression. That's tomorrow's show. I know a lot of you are going to be celebrating the holiday, but don't forget that it's there for you. We will have that for you tomorrow morning. It'll be scheduled at 7 a.m. About a 20-minute interview. I'd love for you to watch it because it's amazing how his life has changed. All right? I want you all to have an incredible holiday, and then I'll be back with you for Mobile Monica on Wednesday. As I always tell you, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for the blessings you bestow upon me. Thank you for watching this show for the last 4 months on both YouTube and on Facebook. Share the love. Go out and remember, in a world where you can be anything, just be kind.